It's no secret that Miura's art is amazing. Even Miura himself said his art is his best weapon. Everyone praises this the most in Berserk. Even people who haven't read Berserk or aren't fans of it can't deny the beauty of Berserk's art. And despite this widespread admiration, I noticed that discussions about his art often stop at surface level praise, with comments like, "It's so well drawn," or "It's incredible." There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I feel there's so much more to explore. Layers of meaning, emotion, and storytelling embedded in every drawing, and that's what I want to dive into in this video. I want to analyze some of my favorite pieces of art from Berserk, exploring not just their visual appeal, but the deeper emotions and themes they convey. Starting with my favorite double page spread in the entire series, a piece that profoundly impacted my life, Guts Under the Night Sky. Now one looks at this and thinks, beautiful. But what elevates this double page spread is the context surrounding it and what Miura is conveying with this. Moments before this double page spread, Guts had experienced something horrible. He had just killed his father, then being chased by everyone else and shot at with arrows, and fell down a cliff. Having gone through all the despair, the next thing we see is this double page spread. Guts on the ground opening his eyes to the dark night sky, filled with stars. When I first saw this, I felt so emotional, but I didn't understand why. But after many years of stupid, weird, gay experiences, I can put into words why this means so much to me. Guts having gone through something so horrible and could die in any moment, yet when opening his eyes, he is greeted by something dark yet filled with beauty, subconsciously telling Guts and the viewers reading this, you might be going or will go through some dark times. But see how there's beauty and light to be found even in the darkness? There's always something worth striving for. Don't give up. You have to struggle and find it. And this is the reason I believe as to why Guts decided to struggle and keep on living in this moment. As Guts himself even says, why am I still fighting? It will be easier to just die, but he doesn't. He keeps on fighting. And this is what I love about Miura's art. While it's so well drawn, there's more to his art that depicts so much without the need of writing dialogue. Next piece of art is a Griffith page. Yes, I know, you can hate on Griffith all you want, but it's impossible to deny how sexy this femboy be drawn. And this page is my favorite Griffith art, and not just because he looks good, but because what this art conveys about Griffith's character and the path he's chosen. This is the moment he decides to sacrifice everyone, and while the art is truly well drawn, there's so much more thought that went into this. You first notice Miura drew Griffith as Griffith. Yes, that sounds fucking stupid, but what I mean by that is that he didn't draw him as he is in that moment, broken. This implies we're seeing Griffith's true inner self, and that this decision isn't born from his brokenness, but is instead an expression of his true self. The Griffith who would do anything to achieve his dream. Another thing I noticed that elevates this art is you can see only his face and his hair, not being fully drawn, but it blends with the white background. There's no end to it, and this to me is depicting Griffith's path. We always seen Griffith depicted as this godly being in the story, and this moment to me feels like the moment he truly ascends. Him blending with the background which seems as this blinding light. There being no indication as to where Griffith ends as his body isn't drawn, showing he truly is free now, not bounded by his own conflictions that made achieving his dream harder, and by sacrificing everyone did he finally ascend. Now it's only fitting the next art I delve into is this beautiful double page spread of Farnese and Schierke, where this also depicts freedom and ascension, but framed in a different way. Unlike the Griffith drawing, where everything blends into Griffith, where it looks like Griffith wraps himself around everything affecting the world, here we have the opposite. Schierke and Farnese have luminous bodies flying freely on the air, not letting their ego, you can say, affect the world, but rather they themselves let the world wrap around them, opening their hearts to the world, allowing them to go anywhere to explore. As Flora said, the way of magic is to explore the great mysteries and explore the entire universe within your own world. And this double page spread is the perfect depiction of that, and I love it so much. For Miura to be able to explore similar themes in his art, but framed differently, which completely transforms it into something truly special. Also, I want to point out how cute it is that Schierke is looking at Farnese, with this smile, which makes me think Schierke is thinking about the first time she did this with Flora. The amount of details Miura draws is so good. It's just not the art alone that's drawn really good, but even the storyboarding that I mentioned in a previous video. Miura loves to convey motion a lot in Berserk, not just to emphasize action scenes, but even pivotal emotional scenes to enhance the moment, as seen in my favorite Guts and Casca page. Normally, one would just see a manga author draw this kiss, but Miura goes out of his way to draw 6 panels before the kiss, each conveying something different, but also meant to emphasize Guts and Casca are very clumsy, as mean as that may sound, but I mean it in the cute way. 2 vulnerable people who are trying to open up to each other, and Miura drawing 6 different panels conveying that. First panel, Guts is comforting Casca, but has a sweat drop, indicating he doesn't know if this is right or if he should do this. He's never done this before. Second panel is Guts kissing her forehead. Third panel is Casca tilting her head up. And the fourth panel, Casca is now reaching for Guts, leaving Guts surprised. And the fifth panel is Guts moving his head downwards with a sweat drop, showing the hesitation Guts has, questioning if he does deserve this, does he deserve love? And the sixth panel is Guts and Casca going for the kiss, both believing they do deserve love. And the last panel is Guts and Casca kissing with a waterfall behind them. For those that don't know, waterfalls symbolize letting go, releasing negative thoughts and cleansing the soul and body. That's how powerful this kiss was for both Guts and Casca. Miura did so much, the art itself is good, but Miura goes the extra mile and conveys so much emotion and story through his art. Next piece of art that I want to talk about is the iconic Guts vs Griffith double page spread. Guts being where the kingdom is, emphasizing what he's leaving behind, and his sword is reaching for the light, as you can see right here, emphasizing rather than staying Griffith's dream, he'd rather go after his own light, his own thing, and Griffith is on the other side, wanting to trap Guts in the kingdom. Now those are cool little details that I noticed, but after rereading Berserk many times, one thing that always stood out to me was that tree. That goddamn tree. Now the most likely reason the tree is there is just because. It's cool. It makes the landscape feel more alive. But hey, that's no fun. It's fun to look at things deeper, even if Miura didn't draw something with much intention, because that's the beauty of art. After looking at this tree for so long, I came to the conclusion. Guts is that tree. I have no doubt in my mind, Guts is as big as that tree. But being serious, I do really see the tree being symbolism for Guts. At this point in the story, Judo said the only way for Griffith to get an even higher rank and to become king was to marry Charlotte, as the 100-year war between Midland and Tudor was over, and Guts' role changed from an attacker to a defender, so to speak. If Guts had stayed in the Band of the Hawk, his role would be like how the tree is depicted in this page, standing between the kingdom and outside, covering the shadows, not allowing the light to shine on it, and to remain there for its remainder of its life. And to add even more depth into this delusion of mine, the tree from this perspective appearing to be bigger than the kingdom, symbolizing at this point of the story, Griffith, without realizing it, already held Guts just as high or even higher than his dream. Moving on from that delusional perspective of mine, let's move on to this iconic Guts vs Griffith double page spread. Again, one can hate on Griffith, but my god, if a fanboy did this to me, I would also join. But something I find so good about the majority of Griffith's art in the Golden Age arc is Miura's decision to use his art to display Griffith as a godly being from everyone else's perspective. If you look at this double page spread, one thing Miura did that you can see, it's very cloudy. But notice where the clouds open up and shine light on. The light is shining on Griffith, giving him this radiating look, and I applaud Miura for being very consistent in depicting Griffith as a godly being through his art. This next piece of art makes me shed a tear when I look at it for so long, as it's such a hopeful but also very melancholy piece of art. It's hopeful in how it's such a rare moment of tranquility with the group, just having a good time at the beach, and Guts seeing Casca be happy. But what makes it so sad is in how it's framed. Notice the two characters that are in the middle panel with everyone else. Schierke and Guts being on a different path, as shown in this panel where the footprints we see here are only of these two, showing their isolation towards everyone else. Which makes sense when looking at the context of the story. Schierke at this point hasn't made that connection with all of them and just lost Flora, and Guts always keeping his distance because of Casca, as he believes he will only cause her pain and feels he's only allowed to look at her from far away. But I do love how this further emphasizes the wholesome relationship of Guts and Schierke and foreshadowing their development. Schierke at first saw herself unable to fit in the world Guts and everyone else belonged to, and felt they wouldn't understand her. But seeing pieces of art like this where Guts and Schierke be together is wholesome, and subconsciously telling the viewers reading this, while complete understanding isn't possible between humans, sometimes all you need is someone to be there with you. And seeing many pieces of art where Guts and Schierke be walking close to each other works as a strong visual storytelling to develop the relationship. Next piece of art I want to talk about is a callback of sorts to a chapter from so long ago, Guts Sitting Down. Now what makes this page so impactful to me is the growth Miura is trying to convey in Guts. When you go back and look at the old chapter, some context. This was when he just joined the Band of the Hawk and did his first mission, but look at the difference between this old chapter and the newer one. The old one, notice how the first panel is of the Band of the Hawk and the second panel is Guts not even looking at their direction. But then in the other panel, he glances at the Band of the Hawk, indicating he desires some connection, but is afraid. Now compare it to the newer page. The first panel is of Schierke and the second panel is Guts looking at her. Unlike before, he isn't avoiding his gaze, but instead is directly staring at his new bonds, which to me gives off this feeling of he isn't closing off his heart. He knows they are special to him, and he will protect them and values them. It's such a small detail, but it vastly changes the implication, and I love Miura for strong visual storytelling. On a darker note, I want to talk about a piece of art that just encapsulates despair itself. Everything is meaningless. This double page spread. When I first saw this, I was afraid to flip the next page. The decision to draw all the apostles so close to each other, not leaving any empty space in this entire double page spread, giving the viewers this claustrophobic experience, truly putting us there in the story, that there's nowhere to hide or to escape to. All there is the inevitable despair to hit you. And my god, does Miura convey it so good. And by drawing the apostles with the mouth open, leaving the reader scared to flip the page, as we know what's coming. Another thing that elevates this despair is there's no use of the color white. There was no need to contrast it with a blinding light, as there was no hope left. Miura is such a master of conveying any emotion / feeling out there through his art. Which brings this next double page spread, which I hate so much, as my god, I hate horror, and to me, this double page spread in my opinion is the scariest by far, and I fucking hate it, and it's because of the use of shadows. We have seen scary and very creepy apostles before, but the difference to me is the amount of the color black that's used. For example, look at this double page spread, and how these dogs that are possessed appear. They are covered in shadows, but have this grayish color to them, and are very visible. But as for this one, it's covered in all darkness until Roderick opens the door, shining a little bit of light. And even then, in the next panel, we still get this feeling of we can't see how they look like. All those squiggly lines make these monsters look more abstract, where we can't tell what's going on with them. As with other creepy stuff that Miura has drawn, the outlines are very firm and we know what they look like. Next piece of art that I want to talk about is this double page spread of Femto. This is by far my favorite Femto art, and it's one very simple thing that Miura drew that adds so much depth to this drawing, which makes it my favorite. Ever since Griffith was reincarnated, has been called the Hawk of Light, the savior by everyone, but this one double page spread destroys that facade. And I'm not talking about him transforming into Femto, and because we the viewers know what he did, but it's the way Miura drew the light. For example, look at the page before this double page spread. Ganishka said, light, it's blinding. And then the next page is this, Turns out this light Ganishka and everyone else thought Griffith was emanating was in fact a facade. The way it's framed in this double page spread is Griffith using the light. The light isn't emanating from Griffith himself, but from somewhere else. And look at how he's holding his hand out and the light is next to him, giving this feeling of him using that light as a weapon and not an actual source of hope. And that's what makes it so special to me. To switch things up, I want to appreciate some art that's leaning on it's just so fucking cool. Don't look at it deeper, as Miura also loves drawing cool stuff for the fun of it, and it shows in this double page spread of Guts and Zod teaming up. This has stayed in my mind for so long. Now there's one obvious reason why this art is even cooler. We love Zod and we love Guts. They have known and fought each other, and to see them teaming up is the coolest thing ever. And then add cool lightning effects, it's over. Even the way Miura drew the electricity on Zod's teeth, which you can see right here. Those small details just add an even cooler layer. Then there's the iconic Berserker armor pages. I swear, this awakened an armor fetish in me the moment I saw it. It's so fucking cool. I could go on and on about all the coolest drawings of Berserk that aren't deep but just fucking cool, but it's gonna take hours. So to end this section, I want to talk about a really cool drawing from the very first chapter of Berserk that left an impact to me, and to this day, I still don't think it has been replicated. I'm talking about this double page spread of Guts fighting the Snake Apostle. Now what makes this piece of art so cool and impactful is the desperation in Guts' face. While there have been many fights where we see Guts fighting with desperation, to me, I always saw there were more emotions to be seen in Guts in those moments, but here, the only thing I see is full raw desperation emanating from Guts' face. And then this cool panel of Guts cutting him in half makes for such a cool double page spread, and I love it so much. I could go on and on about the coolest pieces of art Miura has drawn, but it's gonna turn into a way longer video. So I'll end it by talking about the most deep and powerful piece of art Miura has drawn. Snoz. Look at how firm he stands, and the reason he's visible to us in the first place is because he's allowing us to look at him. Notice how all the surroundings is the same color as him, indicating he is in fact one with everything. He is the true light, not Griffith, fuck him. Then there's his stance, standing sideways, indicating he's not afraid of whatever comes his way, or does he even view the people in front of him worthy of looking at him face to face, or nose to nose, even leaving Guts speechless. Someone who would normally attack anything he sees in front of him, yet he didn't rush forward to attack Snoz, as he noticed his aura, which leaves Schierke pleading with Snoz to let them pass. These squiggly lines from Schierke indicate the pressure and how shaky her voice is, that we can't see what she said to Snoz. But Snoz has such godly hearing, he heard her and decided to let them pass, showing his benevolence. I could go on and on, but this is good for now. Miura's art is in a league of its own. The amount of emotions his art can convey is limitless, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to take up drawing in the first place. As someone who's not able to articulate my feelings well, seeing Miura able to convey so much emotion and feeling with just his art alone gave me so much hope and a new perspective. Art is capable of so much that I didn't think was possible. Without Berserk, I wouldn't have come to learn this. Even if you didn't have a hand or feet fetish or a furry fetish, well now you do after looking at Miura's art. Many would think that would be a joke, but no. Not talking about myself, but I have seen people. As for me, never have I seen mantids drawn as wonderful as this. Look at Guts' mantids. Tell me you wouldn't rest on them. And it made me appreciate them so much more, especially when I see Guts. And I hope this video shows people there's so much more that goes into Berserk's art, and I will miss Miura's art every day. But I'm thankful he was able to share his passion through his art to millions of people throughout the world, and he will be missed.